This video will show you some of the preferences on the main screen here in RockSim-Pro. These buttons here are what I'll go through. So this first button controls the view of the rocket, and we have four different options. We have the 3D, which is what you're seeing now. We have the top view, which is this one right here. Notice that it displays information about the rocket. This information, like this, the name is found up here in the rocket design attributes. So if you change it here, it will change it down there. Also notice it has the mass, the center of gravity, and the center of pressure location, plus the static margin, which is the distance between the center of gravity and the center of pressure divided by a reference diameter. Typically it's the body tube diameter, and you can see that reference right here in the static margin reference. So you can change it to a nose cone base diameter, the maximum frontal diameter, or some user reference diameter, and that diameter is set here. And that just controls the margin number right here. Also displays the engines that are loaded in the rocket. Next down is the top view, which is basically the same thing, except it's looking at the top view of the rocket rather than the side view. Next, we have a base view of the rocket, and this is useful to tell where the rockets are located and help in placement of parts on the rocket. And then again, we have the 3D view, which is this right here. Whenever you click on a part on a rocket, if you're in the Rocket Design Components tab, if you click on a part, if I click on the fins, it will highlight the fins up here and it will ghost everything else in the rocket. So if I click here, now I'm clicking on a tube and it highlights the tube. And this is the same for the side view and the top view. When you click on components here, it finds them in the parts tree. So this is an easy way, to find a part, like finding the motor mount tube. You click on it and it will find it for you easily. Next we have the stages view. This is a single stage rocket, so I'll only see the top stage. But if I have selected the 3-stage rocket, and if it was multiple stages, it would show all three. What this button really does is it hides the lower stages, which can be useful for when you need to know the center of pressure and the center of gravity of the upper stage. Next we have the zoom buttons. We have zoom in and zoom out, and we click on them, it will zoom. In the main screen, if you hold and drag with your mouse, you can drag it around. You can also use the scroll wheel on your mouse to scroll in and out, and then zoom out will be again the same. You can also right click on the screen with your mouse, and you also have the plus and the minus to zoom in and out. You can also zoom original, where it will set it back to its original view. This measure button allows you to measure things. So when I click on it, I can measure from here to, like where the fins are located. Now it doesn't have to be, strictly horizontal. As you can see, I can do any measurement anywhere. I can measure from here to here, which is a useful measurement. And it's, this is going to give me approximate unless I'm absolutely perfectly straight. So you can see the measured distance, and then you can change the units if you need. When you're in 3D mode, these buttons change over here. So right now I'm in trackball mode, and that's the default view. So trackball mode, when you click and drag with your mouse, the rocket image will travel with the movement of the mouse. If you uncheck that, now when you click and hold down the mouse, then just the rocket spins around. So normally it's easier to orient the rocket when you're in trackball mode like this. This view right here will ghost the rocket, so you can see inside. This view right here is the camera controller. This is useful if you get the rocket where it's in an unusual orientation or maybe even off the screen. These top two buttons, recenter and reset, will put the rocket back in the middle of the screen. The difference is reset the camera will put it back into the default orientation, which is horizontal. And then you also have movement buttons up here, so you can have zoom in, zoom out, rotate this way, rotate that way, rotate this way, rotate that way. And then again, if you lose your rocket, just hit recenter or reset the camera and it will get the rocket back. The advanced controller, this, you can type in a number and it will move the rocket around. It's not used very often, so that's why it's mostly hidden. Make sure that this window stays on top. Sometimes it can get behind the main window. So then you need to move your main window around to get this camera controller back on top so you can close it out. This one right here is a global lighting manager. So if you want a special lighting configuration, you can play around with that. Also, when you're in base view mode, or in actually in any of the 2D modes over here, you can go up to view, I think it's view, and you can, it also, here's where you can change the, the different views. You can also have guides. And right now I have no side view guide, so I can show a grid on both the side view and the base view. And if I click OK, you'll now see that there's a grid. Again, that's under guide settings under the view menu. And the spacing here, you can change it so you can say, like, have each of the grids 0.5 inches, and you can change the color if you want, or the opacity. So right now they're at every half of an inch, so if you can count over. So this is 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. So I got a 3 inch long nose cone. When you're in base view, you can see this. Again, there's another feature in the base view. It's in the preferences. So on the Mac, the preferences are under the RockSim-Pro menu. I believe on Windows, they're under the File menu where you can get to the preferences. It's either the File or the Help menu. But in the preferences, you have preferences for the 2D drawing. So if I click on this, on the base view, there's also a stability graph overlay. And if I check that and hit OK, you'll see that there's now this circle here. And basically what this means is the rocket is stable. If it's green, it's stable in that direction. So if the wind was blowing from that direction, it would be stable. And then here is kind of a representation of the center pressure. So right now, the center gravity or the center pressure is okay because it's outside. But if it was inside, it would turn red. So that's kind of a unique feature for the base view that you have available. If you have any other questions, you can always email us. Just go to the Apogee website and click on the Contact Us, and we'll be able to answer your questions.